Hey guys, it's Kristy here, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I'd do a review on the new Tarte Shape Tape foundation. They have a concealer called the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer and it's been a really popular product. It was released I think in 2016 and it really has been a cult product. It is a really great concealer actually. I use it myself and I really like it. It has really good staying power. It is really full coverage. So because they got such a great reception for the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, they decided to bring out a Tarte Shape Tape foundation and that is what I am reviewing today. They do have two different formulas. They have a matte formula and a hydrating formula. Each one has 15 shades and it costs £35. So I decided to go for the matte formula because I have really oily skin. I tend to not get any sort of dry patches really. I am just very oily in my T-zone. So I went for the matte formula in the shade Fair Sand. I have used the Tarte Amazonian Clay in the past and that's the shade that I was in that foundation. The Tarte website only gives free shipping if it's over £40, so because this was £35 I wasn't eligible for free shipping, and for me to get it delivered to Northern Ireland it would have cost £12.68. So I decided to go ahead and order a couple of other things to make it up to the £40. So I got a little sample of the Park Avenue Princess, so that's the Amazonian Clay Matte Waterproof Bronzer, as well as the Amazonian Clay 12-Hour Blush. So this was £1 and I kind of thought it was a bit of a rip when I got it. It's literally like a sheet of paper with basically one application of each on it. I don't really know what I was expecting, but I kind of thought I would get a sort of deluxe sample maybe where I could use it a few times. So I'll use this today once I apply the foundation. I also ordered these two little guys here. This is the limited edition Tarteist Lip Wardrobe Volume 2. So it is two little lip paints. This one is a quick dry formula. It is in the shade Rose, and this one here is a creamy formula and it is in the shade FOMO. Weird name, or mauve, and they are really great actually. I've been trying these out. I really like the creamy formula. It is just really easy to apply. It is really opaque. It is really comfortable, but I really like both of these and they were £8, so that took me up to the £40 free shipping limit. I ordered these on the 16th of January and they took until the 24th to arrive, which was quite a bit of time because I wanted to get this review out there quickly and let you guys know my thoughts on the foundation. But what I'll do is I'll go on the website here and I'll tell you a little bit more about the foundation. I'll just give you a bit of a rundown on the hydrating one. It makes skin luminous and fresh. It has hyaluronic acid which really hydrates the skin and it is skin smoothing. But as I said, I have really oily skin, so I went for this here one. The shade I got, Fair Sand, is the lightest shade available in the matte formula. It doesn't actually say what undertone it is on the website, but I know from the Amazonian Clay that this has a yellow undertone which suits my skin. It says it is a vegan and oil-free full coverage formula with a creamy texture and modern matte finish to complement our cult favourite concealer. It smooths over pores and imperfections with rich airbrushed full coverage, and it dries to a flawless matte finish with a unique concealer inspired wand. It absorbs oil and shine, leaves skin creaseless, hydrated, free of flakiness and cakiness, and helps to improve skin health with every application. And they say because it is so full coverage you want to make sure you get the right shade for your complexion. So that is pretty much the summary of what it says on the website. As I said, they do have 15 shades in each formula. There has been outrage basically on YouTube and across the makeup community that they basically have brought out 12 shades of white foundation and then only 3 shades for darker skin tones. I will insert a picture of all of the shades swatched on someone's arm. This picture has been doing the rounds. I will credit the person in the picture as well. But you can basically see that most of the shades are for Caucasian people and there's only 3 shades for darker skin tones. And from watching Alyssa Ashley as well as Jackie Aina, their videos, they basically came out with 3 shades of orange, so they weren't even really suitable for a lot of people with dark skin tones, and it's also very hard to just pick between 3 shades. And Tarte basically released a statement saying that they wanted to release the foundation as quickly as possible. They had certain shades ready and they just went ahead and released those, and they're working on 10 further shades that will cater more to darker skin tones. However, I think they probably should have just waited and had the full range ready and released the full range. I just think it's proper crap that people across the board were really excited about this foundation coming out, and then to see that maybe their skin tone wasn't catered for in the first release is really demoralizing. And I think that even though they are going to release 10 more shades, they've disappointed a lot of people, and those people that may have bought the foundation maybe won't, even with the second release coming out. So I just think the shade range is really disappointing. Tarte could have done a lot better, and they should have just released all the shades at once. But today I am going to be reviewing this foundation for those who have maybe already bought it and aren't sure how to best apply it, or for those who are thinking of buying it once Tarte come out with their 10 further shades. So I have actually been wearing this for the past 2 days. I'm glad I didn't do a first impression of this, because the first day I wore this I actually didn't really like it. There were parts of it that I did like, but certain things about it that I really didn't like. So I changed my technique the second day I wore it, and I'm going to then apply it today, which is the third day, and wear it all day, and then I'll come back after a full 8 hours or more and tell you how it's looking. But I will go ahead and apply it, and I will tell you my first application thoughts as well as my thoughts over the previous 2 days, just so you can really decide how you want to apply it and how you want to wear it. But let's just go ahead and jump right into the application. I do have my eyebrows done as well as my eyes and my eyelashes. I used the Masquerade Mini by Juvia's Place. I'm trying to use more colours, and I really like the colours in here, and they are really smooth and blendable, so I really like this palette. So you can see it has a big doe foot applicator there. I am just going to start with one side of my face first, and I'm going to use a sponge on this side. I don't like the applicator because I don't think it's hygienic, and also you have to dunk in quite a few times. I think it would have been better to come out with a pump. I just feel like it's okay for concealer to have a doe foot applicator because you're really just applying it under your eyes, but whenever you're putting this over your whole face, I just feel like it isn't really hygienic. So now I'm going to go in on this side with my damp Real Techniques sponge. I will use a brush on the other side just so we can see the difference. I put this on the first day with a dry sponge, because I often find I use a dry sponge anyway because it's a lot quicker, and usually I am really late for work, so I usually don't have time to dampen my sponge, and it also gives me fuller coverage, so I thought I'll go in with a dry sponge. But actually what that did was it made the foundation look really cakey, and it looked quite cakey throughout the day. It gave me, a nice full coverage, but just the cakiness was a bit too much. It looked very powdery and just looked a lot like I was wearing a lot of makeup. So I then went in on the second day with a damp sponge, and that made a massive difference. It made the cakiness go down. It does sheer out the foundation a bit, so it gives me then medium coverage, I'd say. With using a dry sponge it gave me medium full coverage, but I definitely prefer the finish with using a damp sponge. So over the past 2 days I have had to mix this foundation with a darker foundation. I literally fake tan just before I got this in the mail, and it is definitely not my shade right now. Whenever I'm wearing no fake tan, this is my shade. It is a very pale shade with a yellow undertone, which is exactly what I wanted. It is the same as my Amazonian Clay foundation, so the shade would be perfect if I wasn't self-tanned. So I did mix this in with my Clinique Even Better Skin in the shade Honey, and that made it the perfect shade. The Clinique Even Better Skin is also a slightly more dewy finish, so I did like actually mixing the two. It is actually my favourite combination to mix my Clinique Even Better Skin in with a matte formula foundation. It just gives me the perfect finish. But today I am going to wear just this here on its own. I am going to sort of bronze it up and add contour, and so it will bring the colour up. So if you're thinking this is really pale, you're right. So there is that side there. It is definitely only medium coverage, I'd say. I didn't apply too much because the first day I did apply quite a lot, and that also contributed to the cakiness. It has dried down really matte. I mean, if you don't set with powder, you wouldn't need to with this foundation. It really does dry right down. I mean, there's hardly any transfer there. It's not the most smoothing foundation, but I don't really expect that when I'm going for something that's super matte, and that is why I tend to mix this with a more dewy foundation. I will go in with another layer and see how this layers up, because I haven't actually tried doing that yet. So I'll just add a little bit more to the center here. So that definitely added extra coverage right where I added the foundation, but it does look a wee bit dry, I have to be honest. It looks drier than whenever I mixed it in with my more dewy foundation. It's not as cakey as the first day whenever I applied it with the dry sponge and I applied too much. So it does definitely work better with a damp sponge. But yeah, my thoughts are it is quite drying. It does look quite dry. It's not too cakey. It looks fine in that respect. But I guess once I start to produce oils throughout the day, it might actually bring down the dryness a little bit. I'll go ahead and add the foundation to this side and I'll use a brush. So I'll be using the Guerlain Easy Application Foundation Brush and just applying that there. I took out half my eyebrow by accident, so I'll have to reapply that there. So I definitely got more coverage with the brush, but it does look more cakey. So I'm going to go ahead and go on with the sponge and see if I can just bring it down a wee bit, bring down that cakiness a little bit. So I've gone over that there with a sponge. It did bring down the cakiness, but I definitely prefer full application with a sponge. It looks a lot smoother, although it is still drying on that side. This side looks drying and also more cakey, so I definitely prefer the sponge applicator, but I'll go ahead and give you a really good close-up. This definitely isn't the type of foundation where you can play about with it for a long time. I've tried to sort of play about with the foundation on my nose quite a bit and it has dried right down, and once you try to go back in again, it kind of messes it up. It kind of picks it up and makes it go quite patchy, so just be aware that you have minimal playing time with this. I'll go ahead and add contour, bronzer to bring up the colour, do my blush. I'm also going to add a little bit of concealer under the eyes and see how that blends in with the foundation. I will use my Tarte Shape Tape concealer. I was going to use my Maybelline Fit Me, but I guess because this is Tarte Shape Tape foundation, I should use the Tarte Shape Tape concealer, and then I'll be right back and show you how it's turned out. So I am back. I ended up setting both sides of my face lightly with powder, just a little bit. I found on the first day I did bake my whole face and that really added to the cakiness, so I just set it lightly with a thin layer of my Ben Nye Luxury Cameo powder and my Ben Nye Colourless powder, and I did that yesterday and I found that worked really well. I then used a bit of the Park Avenue bronzer, which I thought was nice, as well as the Amazonian Clay blush in Glisten, and I thought that was really nice too. It's almost like the Milani Luminoso blush but just a tad bit darker. And then I went ahead with my usual contour. I'll have those linked down below. And then I used the Tarte lip paint that I ordered with the foundation. It was in the shade Rose, so that was the quick dry formula. I do look very highlighted at the minute because, as I said, if I had self tanner on, I would usually mix this foundation with a darker shade to make it my right shade, but because I've had to add so much bronzer, I then have these very highlighted bits, so that's not really the look I usually go for. But I will go ahead and give you a close-up. As of right now, I'm not really liking it. I feel that I look quite dry in here. My nose looks really bad. It looks quite dry and patchy. This side looks a bit better, but it just looks a wee bit cakey and dry. My forehead looks okay and my chin looks okay as well, but just especially here I look quite dry, and I never really get dry there. I don't usually get dry patches in general anyway, so it's very unusual for me to be dry right in here. My top lip looks okay, it's not too cakey. But overall, I definitely prefer mixing this with a dewy foundation, and then it gives me the perfect mix. The dewy foundation gives me a really smooth finish, but it doesn't last all day, and I do get oily, whereas mixing this in with it just gives me the perfect foundation. I did mix it yesterday and it looked flawless. My pores were reduced. I had really smooth skin, but it stayed really matte. I mean, all day. And as I said, I usually bake my entire face, and I didn't even do that yesterday. I just put on a light dusting of powder and my foundation lasted amazing. I would say that my pores do look reduced even with the foundation on its own, and I think from far away it looks good, but just whenever you get up close I look quite aged. If I go like this here, you can just see it just looks wild dry, you know, my skin just looks dehydrated. So I will go ahead and wear this throughout the day. I'll check back in. I will check back in after about 8 hours or so. But the verdict for now, initially, is definitely I'm going to use this as a mixer. I'm not going to be wearing this on its own, even whenever it is the right shade. I'm going to continue to use it mixed with my Clinique. It was literally amazing. So I would say if you have a dew foundation that you really, really love, it just doesn't give you the lasting power, this is definitely a good mixer. But I will go ahead and I will see you in about 8 hours. Hey guys, I'm back. It is now 2 hours 20 minutes into my 8-hour wear test. I have to say the foundation is looking a lot better now. It seems that I have like grown into the makeup. It's definitely not looking as dry. It is, however, still dry in this patch right here. My nose doesn't look as patchy. It seems to be looking a little bit better. I was wiping my nose and it doesn't seem to have taken off any of the makeup. I was wiping my nose, I think on the first day I wore this quite a lot, and it did come off because I was wiping my nose loads that day. I was having sinus problems, but it wore away gracefully, but it doesn't seem to have worn off so far. Things are looking a lot more settled and not as dry, but there are still elements of dryness there. So I'll go ahead and give you a close-up. I was wearing my glasses, so you can just see there's little marks where my nose pads were, but it hasn't really worn away under the nose pads yet. So I'll continue to wear my glasses and continue to wear this foundation, and I'll check back in a little bit. So I'm back. It's now 8 hours 20 minutes later, and here is how the foundation is looking. You can tell I've been wearing my glasses all day, and it's actually cooked really well under the nose pads. It has shifted the foundation a little bit, but you can see that the foundation has completely worn off. It is still looking really, really matte, especially for my skin. It has started to look just slightly less matte, just right in here around my nose, but it is by no means sort of greasy or it hasn't broken down or anything. I actually think the foundation is looking a bit better now. It definitely looked its best after about 2 hours up to I'd say about 6 hours, and then here's how it's looking now. So the dewiness has just started to come through slightly on the nose, but the dryness has definitely gone down as my oil has sort of mixed with the foundation. It is looking a really, really nice finish. I will go ahead and just give you a close-up now. I did go ahead and put on highlighter today, so the just shyness on my forehead is actually highlighter. I'm testing the Ingot highlighters by Makeup Revolution today, so I'll have that video up after I put up this video, but I think it's held up really, really well. It stayed really, really matte, especially for me not baking my whole face. I do think I would be able to cope with this foundation if it looked at the start the way it did after 2 hours, but I think the way it went on straight away, it did look very, very dry. So I am, as I said earlier on, going to just keep on mixing this with my more dewy foundation. It meant that straight away on first application it looked great, and then it also looked great throughout the day, so therefore I get the best of both worlds. So I think for me, if you have oily skin, this does get a thumbs up from me. There is a short window where the foundation doesn't look fantastic, but then it looks great for the rest of the day. It is really matte, it has really good staying power, it has good coverage. It doesn't have full coverage, but you can always add in concealer if you need to. It doesn't crease, I haven't seen any creasing. It doesn't really transfer, it doesn't rub off, especially because I touch my nose a lot. If it does wear away, it fades away very, very gracefully. So I think, yes, this does get a thumbs up from me. I, however, am going to keep mixing this, so maybe you might want to do the same if you're going to purchase this. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, and hit the little notification bell to receive a notification every time I upload. Don't forget to follow me on all my other social media. I have a Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, they're all Kristy88J, and I have a Facebook that is literally just Kristy J. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!